Well, hello. Every gal needs a cowboy hat.
Scanning the room, you look for a familiar face. Everyone is a stranger. Your heart's racing, you feel nauseous. New plan. You meet 4 new people. Okay, 3. 2? You can handle 2. And then you think, I hate this. This just feels so fake. And before you talk to even 1 new person, you're looking for the nearest exit.
Okay. Crazy. Yo, who invited this chick?
My heart races when I walk into a room full of strangers too. Except it's not anxiety, it's excitement. I'm not thinking networking quota. I'm thinking, look at all these stories. And I get so pumped about talking to people that I don't know.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Well, hello everyone and welcome. And as you know, we're going to be hearing some stories today. And most manufacturers don't know how to share their story. So that's where I come in. I'm the Chief Curiosity Officer at GailNow, and using my 3-step process of sign up, suit up, and show up, I help those in manufacturing tell their story. And often it's with that different spin and really working with various clients on how to pull the stories out of them and then be able to share them more widely. So today we have someone from manufacturing that does show up. He certainly has a great understanding of manufacturing, and we are going to be hearing a little bit about how he showed up and also about the journey over the years and some insights into the industry. So before we get started, I do want to actually look, we have the comments today are blowing up. So I'm going to start with that just before we bring our special guest on. Oh, we have Ray Zaganto, who is the manufacturing unicorn, is in the house. John Buglino, also from USA Manufacturing Hour, one of my networking friends. Thank you, John. And thank you, Ray. Woohoo. We've got, oh, look who else is here. We have Brian Gignac. Afternoon, Brian. Brian is also from Cavalier Tool. We've got a lot of chatter back and forth in the, oh, just when he said, did Tim Galbraith draw the short straw to be on with Gail? You next. I think he's talking about Brian. I don't know. I think there's a little bit of coaxing with Tim, but again, he has so many great stories. And then, oh, Ray says, careful, John. Gail will keep you after class. Remember that. I love Gail. She knows that. Thank you. Oh, we have Elizabeth, who is a local YQGer with her own marketing firm, Perco Marketing. Elizabeth is in the house, and also she's stepping in a little bit to the manufacturing world. So she might be on in a future show as well. We have an Ola from Kim Tierra, also from manufacturing. Welcome. We have a lot of back and forth. And look, Tim, if you're, I know our guest is in the green room looking at this. So Cynthia is here as well. So thank you. Oh, and who else is here? But Mark Ferrati, also from Cavalier, one of the salespeople. So thank you one and all for coming out. Before I bring our guest on, I'm going to play a little clip. And this goes back to when I was working on an event with the Canadian Association of Mold Makers. And we were doing some work with encouraging those in the mold making industry to also show up in this new digital world. And Tim is someone who provided a live video clip that was part of our training. So this will be a good lead in. So here's Tim before we bring him on.
You've got to make sure that you stay ahead of the curve in technology. Your equipment has to be fast and accurate, and you got to be telling people about it. It's not just good enough to have it. So the guys that go out and tell them they're cutting edge and aren't, won't last. The guys that are cutting edge and don't tell anybody, won't last. You've got to do both.
You have to show up. Okay, without further ado, here is Tim, who is showing up today on GailNow Live.
Thank you, Gail. It's nice to see the tree still growing out of my head like it was in the video clip. So
Consistency. So
consistency.
I wanted, you saw all the comments coming in. This is, wow, that's a lot of comments before the show even got started. So that says a lot about the welcoming committee that are laying out the red carpet for you today. We have a lot of back and forth chatter. For those of you in LinkedIn, please encourage people to, connect with you. What I often recommend in these types of shows, even if you're not always, following along intently, although today I think you should, but it's a good opportunity to have some talk, meet people in the chat. It's almost like having some hallway conversation. So again, I'm trying to see, we have lots of people that are showing up saying, giving greetings to one another. Look at, it's a new person has come in. Jake. Thanks, Jake. And Jake shared this event today. Way to go, Jake. Good to see you. And we have more people saying hi to you. Hi, Tim.
Hi, Cindy.
Hi. Yep. We've got, trying to see, I'm seeing if I'm missing any comments, but thank you, everyone. Please keep the comments coming in. If you have any questions, you can drop them in there. I'll try to come back to them. And as you know, my regular show producer is off on a vacation. So I'm going to be doing a bit of double duty for a bit, but you know what? This is, wait a minute. We've got another quote. Let's see. I was so excited for story time with Tim the Toolman that I might have fallen down the stairs. Don't worry. Only a couple running to my desk. Jake, we need to see more that sense of humor. I love it. See, I think you need to do a post about that. I think you should put that in the, Okay. So Tim, you in that clip, let's start with the clip as a segue from the clip, talking about the importance of telling your story. So do you want to maybe elaborate a bit more on that, where you were talking about having all of these great things, and why do you think this is a leading question, why do you think it's important to share that?
Well, Gail, first of all, thanks for having me this afternoon. It's quite an honor. And thanks for all the people who showed up. Pretty cool to see a lot of familiar names out there and some not so familiar, but people I recognize from social media. I'm honored that you spent time with you today. To take off a little bit on what I said, the manufacturing industry in general, and more particular our industry, is one that typically plays their cards very close to the chest, and they're worried about giving up the secret sauce, and the nail that stands proud gets hammered. All the colloquial sayings that are out there. And that was fine before the digital age, because you got in your car and you chased silos and you run around looking for business and you didn't tell anybody. But in this day and age, everybody knows where every customer is. Everybody knows who you are. And if you're going to be successful, you better not only talk the talk, but walk the walk. And either one of the two, without both of them, won't be successful.
That is well said. And I often use this, and most shows I reference this, that, if the tree falls in the forest and no one is around to document it, did it really happen? And there is apparently, this is something we'll probably talk about, quantum theory. If a tree falls and there's nobody around to hear it, does it make a sound? So there's a whole quantum theory. So we'll have to, I'm sure I'll be doing a further blog on that as well. So, and now in terms of your background, so you started in your background is more in sales, but let's talk about how you got into this world. And I'm just going to give a bit of a scene setter too, that you're the sales manager at Cavalier Tool and Manufacturing in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. You are also, or have been, a longtime board member with Canadian Association of Mold Makers. And how did you get into, let's talk about how you got into the world of mold making.
Wow, ancient history. I was in manufacturing after university. I got a job in a plant. I'd worked in the same plant many years, using my brawn and not my brains in the plant environment. And so I grew up manufacturing. When I had an opportunity to move into a sales environment. It was in the industrial supply and machine tool area. And to get fast forward, the mold making industry became one of my customers. So that's my original exposure to them. My background at that time was more direct automotive OEM manufacturing equipment, gear shapers and cam grinders and crank machines, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, the mold making was peripheral on my radar. Um, um, I don't know. I guess I'll go a little bit granular. I had been transferred through this company from city to city, expecting to move up the ladder and head to the big city of Toronto at one point, and that was my predetermined goal. And when I spent enough time in Windsor and was told it's time to come home to head office, I said no. I said I really like Windsor. I've grown. I've started a family here. I've got friends, and I'm not willing to make that sacrifice for my job at that time. And they were incensed, and I said we just parted ways. So I started doing my own thing, and I opened up my own business. But I had a customer who said, you know what, I really need some help in the sales area, and I said I'll help you part time. So I morphed over and was spending a day or two a week helping him with his sales efforts. And it was a small mold shop at the time, very small mold shop. Um, um, I quickly realized that this industry, and again, think back historically, this is before the internet. The sales guys were the cousin who couldn't get a job anywhere, and they gave him a credit card and a car and said, "Go entertain some people, take them to dinner and other types of entertainment, and do business with them." And again, that's the way it was done. And I realized that there was a lot of room for professional salesmen in that industry. So I decided to come over full time. And I didn't know what a mold was at the time, to be quite honest with you. I mean, I knew they existed. I knew they make plastic parts, but I wouldn't know a core from a cavity. And that was my introduction 30 some odd years ago.
Wow. Okay, I feel so much better because as I have got into this industry, and I remember early on, I don't think I really understood completely the difference between a mold maker and a molder. And I got that little confused until one day I had that click went in. And then when, and being on the shop floor, and we're going to get to that story, because for me, spending time even walking around doing photos, talking to the shop floor staff has helped me to understand, I can see a core and a cavity. I can see all of the size of tools sometimes to make, not even a large plastic part. I've been just in awe of that how much we don't know about behind the scenes when it comes to the products we use every day. So,
Sure.
And then we have Ray said, well said, and he also said, I remember the cousin that couldn't get a job. Yeah, you two, I think I could see you two over beer telling so many tales. I think, yeah, that would be a fun fly on the wall story, Ray and you, Tim. So let's talk about how you were working in manufacturing, but let's talk about those weekends. I know you've told me a bit about that, how you got into learning about the mold making world to a greater degree.
Yeah. As anybody who's in the sales game knows, that having a lot of words will get you only so far. You actually have to have a modicum of knowledge about the product that you're talking about, and I had none. I mean, I'm talking none. I knew there was steel, and that was about it. So, as a learning tool, I decided I would show up every weekend and work in the shop on Saturdays and sometimes Sundays, and I'd put a shop coat on and go out there, and that's how I learned. And one of my goals was to experience every single position. Now, of course, the CNC came along. They went, "Oh, big boy, you're not going anywhere near the CNC department." And there was CNC back then, not nearly sophisticated as it is today, but it existed. So I went around and I worked in the spotting and I worked in the tool making, and I did a lot of shoveling chips and just basically learning. A funny story is that one of the tool makers thought this was pretty amusing and said to me, "You need to be exposed to polishing in the hand room." And I went, sure, okay. Well, I'm not sure what that is, but let's go with it. And so he takes me back into the hand room and hands me a dipper file. And for those of you who don't know what a dipper file is, it's basically a vibrating file that goes like really, really fast, thousands of times a second. And you put a little piece of emery cloth on the end, and you can do polishing with it, right? So first thing I do is I get this thing in my hand, go, sure, I'm going to do this. And I start polishing revs. Well, if I didn't destroy the tool, like 30 seconds, it's dinged and banged, and the owner comes running over and grabs me. He goes, okay, this is a noble effort that you're doing, but go back to shoveling chips. So so they had to do a little repair work to fix that tool up. But but that was really my my learning curve. And until again, a little bit of an anecdotal funny story. After a few months, a group of the younger kids came up to me and said, like, uh, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm trying to learn. And they said, you don't understand. We're not that busy, and you're taking work from us, and we're not getting as many hours as we want. And you need to get your fat ass out of here and not take our jobs from us. And I was crushed. I went, I'm only here to help, guys. And they said, yeah, but you really do need to move on, Tim. So I shifted my focus, and I went to tryout shops, because at that time there was only a couple in Windsor. And I used to, obviously, I did all the tryouts because we didn't have program management. So I was a sales guy, program manager, et cetera, et cetera. And I would spend a lot of time at tryouts. And I quickly learned that going to a tryout shop that sees everybody's tools in town, all the mistakes, all the good things, all the bad things, all the different resins, they are experts at molding. So I just sat and hung around the tryout shop as much as I possibly could, and asked a lot of questions of the press operators, and got a wealth of knowledge that way. So it was a bit of a school of hard knocks, I guess I could say that. I didn't have to actually do any heavy lifting, but learning just from people teaching me and people willing to share their knowledge with me.
Well, as you know, I also talk about curiosity. And one of the things that you're just talking about is being curious. And obviously, you were looking around corners and learning, which is also such a key part of understanding this industry. And I know we've had discussions about this, and I think you may have called me a nerd once or twice. On a Saturday morning over coffee, I'm often reading the trade publications, and that is sometimes I'm reading an article going, I have no idea what this is, but I figure it's like muscle memory. I'm just going to read this because one time something may click. And then I find, though, that's helped me to really understand, content, who's reading it, and what are the articles that I can identify with, and who are the people who are writing things that are technical, but also have, an interesting way to describe things. Mm-hmm. So that's been my learning. So thank you for sharing that story. That's really amazing to hear that you were actually, shoveling chips. So we have a couple of comments I just want to bring up, because we have, this was reference to Ray's comment. We had Mike saying cousin Eddie, I believe. Of course, Mike is in the house. I actually think Mike is increasingly, along with John Buglino and a few other people, because he's like my number one fan of my show. So when I get t-shirts made, I'll have to look at my list. Oh, and another fellow marketer, Katie McDermott, who is a bundle of energy as well. She's helping bring some fun into manufacturing as well. We've met through social media. So again, you'll probably hear me talking about this today. A lot of people are in the comments today. A lot of these are people that we all connected because of networking, being online, being in various Twitter chats, being in attending webinars, attending shows. So thank you for that, Katie. And we have Inger here. Inger, hope you're having a most amazing day. And Inger actually is I could say that she's in South Africa right now. So we have an international audience for sure. Thank you for stopping by, Inger. We have more people saying hello. We have John Buglino, who is a dedicated, he shows up at lots of shows. We have Mike saying hi, Katie, Inger, Mike again. Look at Mike says, you are certainly well polished today, Tim. There we go.
Thank you, Mike.
Kim says, the sharing of knowledge is invaluable, especially now when we're lacking in skilled workers. Yes, so that we will get to that, talking about workers and people that have the knowledge. And we have, I'm going to do a plug here for, John says, USA Manufacturing Hour. Yes, every Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you stop by. Again, so many people in manufacturing. And one of the things we're finding too, there's a lot of what's called lurkers. John just posted about that. There's a lot of people that may not comment, even that are here today. I hope any of the lurkers out there, especially from Cavalier, please drop a hello in so that we can bring you up on the screen. It's really important to kind of make your presence known in these types of shows, because I will bring the comment up and say hello. And for those of you who aren't aware, I do work as a consultant with Cavalier Tool and work with Tim fairly closely. So now I understand your background, why you have probably a lot of compassion working with me. So thank you for that. At times it's been definitely a learning curve coming into an industry where it can be very complex when it comes to, the tool making side of things, because I think I could understand the molding, once it gets to pouring the plastic in, I could almost visualize that. Just the building of the tools was important, and also very key to how our end products are made, right? Because if the tool isn't made properly, it's a whole connect the dots process. So
we make things that make things.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I know we've had Kim Tierra. Kim Tierra was on the show recently, and so let's talk now about your perspective. We've heard about your perspective now on social media. Did you always think that way? Did you always think social? Yay! Can't wait to go on it. Let's hear what your thoughts and maybe your transitions. I think a lot of people listening may want to know, does it come easy to you? So let's talk about showing up on social.
I'll segue into that, Gail, to give you a little bit of background. And let's go back to where my original job, when I took in a mold shop, there were no business cards, there was no literature, there were no brochures, there were no nothing. Again, there's no internet, so you didn't have a website. So my idea, I said, we got to market ourselves somehow. So my idea, I went and took Polaroids. And for those of you, that's a camera that gave you an instant picture that you're not old enough to remember. And I put them in a photo album. And I went around the shop, took Polaroids of the machines and of the tools and of the parts we molded at the tryouts, and made up a book, a picture book, and that was my first stab at marketing. Now we're talking bearskin rugs and stone knives and axes and stuff type of thing. We're at Flintstones, and fast forward to today. So my understanding of that marketing is key to sales. I've always understood that, and when we got into the digital age, I wasn't good at it, still not good at it without your help, by the way. But I recognize that that telling our story is more than photographed photo albums, or more than a brochure, or more than a web page. You have to encompass all aspects of it, and you talked about curiosity, and I'm always looking at what is up and coming. Despite the snow on the roof here, I'm not closed-minded to new ideas and marketing. As a matter of fact, you've even got me on TikTok. I'm not making them, but I'm at least looking at this point. Digital marketing is essential, and anybody who's not embracing it now is probably a little bit not only late to the party, they just may be too late, because there's a lot of people that are. So it's a big deal, and my curiosity has led me down the path, and I guess I can tell the story that I told you offline. You weren't the first person that we hired, because I knew that this was a concept many years ago, and we hired someone who hired someone to help us out with it, but they probably wrote great Facebook stuff, but it wasn't really what we needed. It was a very terribly failed experiment, and we took a couple of years off and tried to develop it, and we got our LinkedIn stuff going terribly, I'll admit it in hindsight. But then we hooked up, you and I met and got together and had a discussion. I realized that you were going to be able to give perspective and provide me with guidance to allow me to show what I know to be cool in this industry and in the company that I work for, and how to put it forward. And it's been a successful relationship.
Well, thank you for that. And I will say that I know people that I'm connecting with in the manufacturing marketing world. One of the things that is very important, it is more than doing, 3 posts a week and just doing, it's not a one-way conversation. You do need the engagement. You do need to be able to, understand the industry, and also part of, my 3-step process, the sign up, suit up, show up. You can sign up and say you want to do it. The suiting up is where the research comes in, understanding the industry, understanding also the goals and objectives. So yeah, so that's why I think we work well together is, and the people that I am working with, they're willing to first sign up. And if you don't have that willingness to sign up, you can't really ever get to your end goals, because first of all, you have to decide you want to do it. And I often say the clients that I work best with aren't the ones that I have to, especially in 2022, if I have to explain why social media is important, then it's going to be difficult. You have to sort of already be bought in that this is a way to go. Now, you still also, let's talk about, because when I say that, sometimes what happens is people hear, oh, we have to give up emails, we have to give up calls, we have to give up trade shows, we can't. So let's talk about what you do well is the connection between seeing people in real time, doing trade shows and social media, and how that ties together.
Social media and digital marketing is not the be all and end all. It's one component in a successfully built sales plan, and it includes in-person business. It includes trade shows. It includes. I'm sorry, this is the old school part of me, but face-to-face is still ways of building trust. And there's only so much you can do with Twitter posts and emails and. There needs to be a relationship building, at least in our industry anyway, a relationship building in order to build trust. But part of that building that trust is your brand, and branding yourself and is key to success. And I've said it before to a few of you that are here today, that my goal is for my sales guys to walk into a building, a customer they've never been at before. I walk in or phone or whoever, make contact with them, and they go, oh, "You're from Cavalier. I've heard about you." And then they look at your business card and they say, "Oh, you're John Doe." I won't single any of you guys out. "You're John Doe. I've heard about you too." So we've got two brands out there, both the reps brand and the company's brand, which are well known already ahead of time. It allows you to build the trust and build the relationship. You get over the old days of having to schmooze the receptionist at the front desk trying to get the name of the decision maker.
Very true. That is a very good summary of the connecting the dots. And I will say this because Kim Tierra is here. While you can't always meet in person, the next best thing sometimes is using video. And I'm going to do, Kim and her daughter are rocking it on video, and we're doing that. I mean, Brian's been on a show. You're on this show today. So this is where it's really important for people to get to know you. And I always say, if you get invited on a podcast or on a show, the answer should always be yes. And when can I put it in my calendar? So we have some other comments here. We have Katie says, deep thoughts from Tim. That's going back a bit. We've had a few deep thoughts. We have Kim saying, mold makers making things that make things short and sweet. Yes. And if you haven't, I'll try to remember to drop it in the comments. There is a great video from Canadian Association of Mold Makers that talks and shows exactly what the industry does. So we'll have to get that posted. And Katie says, yes, machining is cool and manufacturing is cool. Thank you. Kayla's putting the sexy into manufacturing. Thanks, Kim. We do need to spice things up a bit when it comes to manufacturing, that's for sure. Okay, so we have Mike saying, all kidding aside, as per Tim's Gales mentioned, Tim Cavalier always have an open door for government officials. Many people that do not know about mold making, however, they're very influential. By taking the time to meet with them, these officials understand the industry better, and Cavalier benefits, as does the entire industry. Yes, the more that we can share, and one of the things that Cavalier being on Twitter, because a lot of people that are on Twitter are influencers and political leaders. We have a few photos that have been posted over time when sometimes when politicians have come to the community. So that's good. Let's see, we have Tierra saying, I agree, Kim, she's doing a great job. Thank you, Elizabeth. And then we have Kim does say, nothing beats face-to-face relationships. I think everyone would agree that face-to-face is definitely important. One of the lessons I've learned over time, though, is that we also have to, term I use is, you have to work with the hand you're dealt. And over the last couple of years, the hand we were dealt is when we couldn't do face-to-face, what were the other options? So, Katie, one ingredient in the recipe for epic success. Yay for personal branding. Lots of work out there on personal branding. I strongly recommend for anybody that's on this call, make sure that you are doing your own personal branding as well as the company one. When you connect in person, social media is a great tool to build that relationship. I always connect with people on LinkedIn after an in-person network event. Elizabeth and I met because she saw me at an event and then she followed up on LinkedIn, and that is how we've done. We are both friends professionally and personally, and it was because of that connection between an in-person oh, look who's here. We have a special listener watcher today, Tim. Look who's here. Stacy
Hey,
DeSantis is in the house. Tim and Gail helped us see the light, and we benchmarked what they're doing to launch and refine our own brand and marketing strategy. Thank you, Stacy. I actually did some work with Stacy, and amazing company. If you're not following Stacy, please go over. They're doing some amazing work, and I think I'm going to be doing a little assisting with some more with a new person on board. Stacy is an amazing person, wealth of information, knows the industry very well. I strongly encourage everyone to connect with him. Love that. Branding yourself so you're recognized prior to a sales visit. Yes. Let's say this one more time for all of our sales people here. Branding yourself so you're recognized prior to a sales visit. Yes. John Buglino has talked about this. I've talked about this. There are so many lurkers. You do not know how many people. And I've done some work on TikTok, more for fun. I don't have any big plan right now. I'm just kind of, playing about on there. But I actually was on a call recently and someone said, I do follow you on TikTok. And they said, I love, your energy and your sense of humor. So I was shocked because I thought, what do you mean you're watching on TikTok? Like, no, I'm just over there goofing around, right? It's not part of but it is part of my brand. So we have social media is where you prospect today. The only place you can have thousands of lurkers for a very small targeted investment. Let's just leave that there for a minute and think about that. Thousands of lurkers for a very small targeted investment. And it's, I think, somewhere between only 1 to 5% of people on LinkedIn are actually posting. So if you post, even if you decide to post once a month, you are still going to be further ahead of many of your competitors. So especially in manufacturing. In other markets, it's a little more challenging, but there is work happening on LinkedIn right now to get manufacturing as a more recognized industry on LinkedIn. So shout out to Jake Hall if he's watching later. He is an amazing advocate for getting manufacturing out in the spotlight. We have John Well said. So many people to connect, follow today. Yes, John, make sure, yes, with Stacy, you guys need to connect too. So, okay. Back to our regularly scheduled programming. Okay, let's see what else. We've talked about social media. Let's talk a little bit about. Let's pull back the curtain on family life and diving and a little bit about what does Tim do when he's not talking about mold making and doing all the nerdy stuff of attending meetings and all that. You do have one thing I'm most impressed about, Tim, is that your family and, well, I don't know if you've done any recent diving, but let's talk about those things, family, diving, and your work on your car, your new car.
Sure. My mantra when I was raising my children was there are circles in your life, and you need to look at your circles. And I told them that the inner circle was my wife and I, and the next circle included them, and the next circle included cousins and friends, and on and on and on. And I did that so that they would prioritize their importance. And you know what? Being in the cool group at school isn't as important as monitoring your circles. To that end, my family and my grandchildren specifically are the joy of my life, and they're what I live for. When I don't work 70 hours a week, I like to spend some time with them as well. So yeah, they're a big part of my life. I have two grown adult children and two grandchildren, granddaughters, and spend as much time as I can with them. yes, you're right. At the tender age of 55, I decided, at the coaxing of one of my children, um, to realize something that I always wanted to do, and that was swim underwater, to go scuba diving. And of all things, there was a Groupon that was stuck on the fridge at home, and it expired the next day. And my daughter said, "Why aren't you doing this? You always want to scuba dive. We've known that, and you've got a Groupon. Why don't you just go and take the darn course, Dad?" And I went, "I get around to it." And she goes, "Oh, you always talk about that." So I was really upset about that. So I called the scuba shop up and said, "I'm coming tomorrow, and I'm going to learn to scuba dive." And I'll tell you that my first underwater experience was. It was just phenomenal. I felt a little bit Superman because I could fly, and a little bit Aquaman because I could breathe underwater. And I went in head first, and I spent a lot of years, and a couple of years ago, achieved professional certification as a PADI Pro, professional scuba diver, at the low level, but. That was a big accomplishment for me. As a matter of fact, I got my first ever tattoo with my scuba number on it. And to anyone who's in the PADI family knows that until you become a professional, your number changes. Once you become a professional, your number never changes. So when I got my permanent number, I had it indelibly stamped on my body. Probably too much information for many of you. COVID indeed has put a damper on that. It's been almost 2 years since I've been in the water. Actually, that's not true. My son-in-law lost his keys in the harbor at Colchester there last year, so I suited up and went down in the mud in the Merc and found his keys for him down there. But that's about all the scuba diving I've done in the last couple of years. I'm hoping to get out this summer now that things have loosened up a little bit. But yeah, that was a big passion for me. Cars is a more recent passion. When I was a kid in the 70s, I saw the C3 Corvette and absolutely fell in love with that. And it was going to be a retirement thing. When I retired, I was going to get one. And I have despite the fact that I'm in the mold industry, I've never changed my oil, or hadn't at that point in the car. It was all done for me. And COVID hit, and my wife said, "Just buy the damn car." And we're sitting at home night after night, and just go buy the car. It's not going to kill you. And we did. And I bought some tools on Facebook Marketplace, and I spent all last winter tearing it down and rebuilding it, and liked it so much I bought another one a couple weeks ago. So
Oh,
yeah, I have two of them now. So yeah, I've become a Corvette fan, and love taking them apart and putting them back together and learning how to do that. So yeah, lots of fun.
well, you mentioned someone who I've met and I just think is an amazing woman, is Sharon, your wife, and that she supports that. I think that's, let's give a shout out to Sharon as also great mom, great. And I know, well,
She may even be lurking.
she may be lurking.
Because she pointed out to me last night, she goes, "I see you're going to be on the podcast," and I said, "Yes, I am." So maybe she's looking out there, but yeah, she's been a steadfast supporter of me and my career, and I can tell you that there's been a lot of times I haven't been there for dance recitals and for birthdays, and it's just the way the industry is, and those of you who are in the industry know the sacrifices that you have to make to be successful, and she's been there for me all along, and she's retired now, and we're enjoying sort of some time together when I do get home.
I think this is a good comment. Cheers to, at the end of the day, it's all about our family. Extremely important to maintain a work-life balance and keep our priorities straight. And I think that's something that too, as we, and probably you're realizing that, especially with grandchildren, I hear that's where sometimes parents sometimes go, okay, I'll do extra duty now as a grandparent because it's like so much fun. I'm not there yet. My son just turned 19. And I will say this one thing about when you're mentioning about scuba diving. I actually did do the PADI. I got certified, not professional. I just did it on a trip to Thailand many years ago. And it was fascinating. But I also realized along with being chief curiosity officer, I'm also a chief overthinker at times. So the one guy that was helping out, because I was doing okay in the first few days, and then we had to dive into dive into the dark, like where you couldn't see, so we had to go down in the dark, and I said, "Tap up, I gotta go back up," and he told me, he goes like, stop thinking. Because as soon as I got down there, I was thinking, I'm breathing underwater, and I almost had like this panic attack. And I realized for me, that was a real challenge. I'm glad I did it. I'm so glad I did it, but I don't really have a lot of desire to do it again. I'll stick to snorkeling and stay on top of the water. Thank you very much. But it was a fascinating process and really taught me a lesson about, I just, unless you have to kind of suspend your belief that that you're actually underwater breathing, because it's a little scary. So
the best divers have survived panic attacks,
yes.
and I too had one in my learning, and rocketed to the surface, and blood coming out my nose, and when they talked me, I was done. I was walking out, and then my instructor at the time talked me off the fence and got me to go back in the water. But once you've had a panic attack in the water, once you've got over it, you recognize it coming. And again, we talked about transferable skills. You see it coming, and you know how to manage it. And it's like everything else. If you can see adversity coming and you know how to manage it, you'll be successful. And that's been the key. I've been in some pretty precarious situations, both underwater and above, and that kind of thinking gets you out of trouble.
That is you're right. That is a great skill. And while I'm not necessarily have going scuba diving high on my list, it was a good lesson also, because I did come up a little too quick. Luckily I was okay. I wasn't that far down, but they gave me heck for that, and a good lesson. The other thing learned through that was they explained to me, like, when you are stressed, you're using up more of your oxygen. So I really learned about breathing. And also I've been on a boat, and I've often said this too: people drown usually not from true going underwater. Usually what happens is they panic and they flail about, and they don't relax. And what you really need to do is relax into it, lean back, but people panic. So usually most people die from panicking as opposed to true just going under. So yes, that's great discussion about transferable skills. We're going to come back to that. Let's go through a few of the comments. We have a little bit from that topic down to Mike saying he's lost a lot of gold coins, and like, can you help me out? So of course, I will say this, I'm learning a lot. I didn't know this at first about Mike's sense of humor, but I'm really getting to know him. I kind of got caught out at the golf tournament this year, Mike, about that taking a photo of the motorcycle. So well, you may know what I mean about that, Mike. So almost caught me. I didn't know he's a funny guy. Ray Zaganda says Corvettes are an itch you need to scratch. So obviously, yep, he gets it. Official gearhead, as so many in the industry are. We have John saying lurkers. Yep. We have Cynthia says, what kind of Corvette, Tim?
I have a C3 in 1975, and I got that specifically because that's the year I graduated high school and fell in love with the car. So that was my first one. My recent purchase is a C5, a 2003 50th anniversary edition. So.
Okay, and then we have, my hubby got the Corvette itch as well. Didn't realize it was a thing.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope. Be careful.
Yeah. We have Brian. Another person in the house. Look who's here too, is Brian Forster. So many skills are transferable. Brian, for those of you, please go follow Brian as well. He has a new video series. He is rocking video and humor. I met him actually because of you, Tim. You flagged me when he was doing something about Cavalier, and always love his. He does some really funny things. We need more of that in the world for sure. Love the transferable skills come. So true, Tim, and so important. Have you gone to the Cayman Islands to scuba yet? We're back to scuba. Have you been to the Cayman?
I have. I've actually been all over the world. I've yet to do Red Sea and the Great Barrier Reef in Australia are two of the main things. I've been Micronesia and Philippines and Caribbean, and I've had lots of fun doing it. Yes.
Geez, you have to share some of that on LinkedIn. Show some photos. Do a little transferable skills about. See, you already have a transferable skills about what you've learned from diving. See, write that down. There's a post idea. And we have Mike. Now, Mike, TGIF on Wednesday with Gail. Mike has said there is more Tuesdays with Maury, and then he said Wednesdays with Gail. So thank you, Mike. That is very sweet. Kim's here. I did the old car thing and made a local mechanic a ton of money along the way. And Tim, you are using your own, you were making this part of, I know on a Saturday, you're sometimes doing some work on your cars.
Actually, Sunday was my morning. I got up Sunday morning because Saturday I usually come to work for half a day. And Sunday morning I would get up and cook a big breakfast early in the morning and put a pair of coveralls on and spend the day tinkering. And to Kim's comment, I do everything myself except when I get over my head, and then I load it in the trailer and take it to that mechanic you were talking about who makes a lot of money to fix what I can't.
And this is so true. See, Kim said you need another show so you can hear about all those diving events. See, people want to know this stuff. We want to see photos. We want to know the stories he must have. Oh yeah, I'm sure there's some that maybe won't always be shared on a show like this today. But and yes, he is. Tim Galbraith is fantastic. Thank you, Tim. Or thank you, Mike. So. So let's do a quick touch base because I want to get your daughter Amanda's name in here because we're going to tag her. But you have two daughters, so which I just learned. One is doing great work behind the scenes, and one is doing great work on social media more out. So can you maybe talk a bit? Look, just highlight them so we can give a mention, even just first names. But Amanda Galbraith is on Twitter and love her stuff, and please go follow her on Twitter.
Yeah. I have two wonderful daughters, and one, as you said, is behind the scenes, and that's Elizabeth, affectionately known as Liz, and she's just a brilliant, witty young lady. Maybe I'm a little biased, but not too much. And she works in the insurance industry, and she works from home, but out of head office in Toronto. And my oldest daughter, Amanda, is 2 years older than Liz, or 20 months older than Liz, lives in Toronto, and she went away to school in Ottawa and fell into politics and ended up volunteering in some areas, and it turned out to be a career for her. She ended up working in the Prime Minister's office and for a couple of MPs in the communications, and segued her life into a consultant, and she's a consultant with a crisis management company right now, and her specialty is media relations, and she does radio and TV and stuff. She actually has a nationally broadcast show on iHeartRadio that's even featured here in Windsor on Fridays. So again, both my kids, I love them to death, and they're both the apple of my eye, and they both done well.
That's amazing. I love that, the work they're doing, and especially your daughter doing more of the ombuds work, like the work behind the scenes, and when doing in front. It's an interesting, and I think probably got the best traits of both you and Sharon. I think I haven't met your daughters yet, but I look forward to one day meeting them because I think I would just love to there's so many conversations I could already have. Maybe I'll have them on the show. And we just touched on, we're not going to probably get into just because also time, but I mean, obviously you're also involved. There's the whole political realm. There's lots going on right now. We're probably not going to go too far down that rabbit hole today just because there's so much happening. And today really is more about showing up and talking about Tim as, the sales manager at Cavalier. But I think now this has been touched upon, but maybe we can announce this officially today since it was in your bio. So Tim, how long have you been at Cavalier?
9 years, just about 9 years next month.
And this is also, well, I'll let you talk about the public information just so I don't step into any landmines and say something.
Well, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, well, the general manager.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Oh.
Yeah. I was. I've had a great run at Cavalier as a sales manager and been part of a phenomenal team here. And I can't tell you how much these aren't just words. It's a great team, both the management team and the group that I have working for me. Some of you are out there listening right now. Brenda Quint is our general manager, who has been just fantastic in helping lead the company, and she's retiring, and I will be segueing into her position and trying feebly to fill the shoes that she has left behind. But yeah, that'll be my next, and I'm expecting my last position because I was actually going to retire, but I decided to do this instead.
Well, you do have big shoes / heels to fill in, and we'll do a shout out because I think it would be highly unlikely I'd ever get Brenda on a show like this, but working with her, seeing, the role that she's had as general manager, it is phenomenal. she has a great story. Maybe one day I would love to get her on because she has really a great story and history of the work that she's done at Cavalier.
Yep.
And I also exciting that she is going to take some time to go, and I know I've talked to her about this, and do some of the things that she still wants to do ahead. So in case, Brenda, you're out there, I think we wish you well on that journey, because I think you're going to have some fun times as well ahead.
Just for the record, if she is out there, I'd prefer she stayed. I could keep doing what I'm doing. She keep doing what her doing. The status quo would be maintained. All would be happy.
I think many people, if that was going to happen, it would have happened. But yes, I think that would be, and no offense to you, Tim, but yes, I'm sure, Brenda has certainly, and she's definitely someone who shows up in a different way, not necessarily publicly, but she's one of those people that does so much and doesn't often even she definitely doesn't want to be in the spotlight, but deserves to be in the spotlight at times. But we try to honor her wishes, don't we?
We do.
So general manager role. So that's going to be some changes to your world for sure. Let's go over to some comments just before we circle back, and we'll start to wrap up. And the question I usually end up with, now we touched upon transferable skills. I love the skill that you talked about with diving and being able to, learn about what happens when you get into that anxiety situation. And that is probably the number one item from today. I think if everybody can take is when that starts to happen, it's not so much that it happens, but how do you turn it around and get back on track?
Sorry, Gail, my next meeting was sending me a message. I apologize. Could you repeat
no problem,
that question?
No problem. No. Oh, well, it was just a statement, not a question. So
okay.
The next question, Elizabeth said, congratulations on your new role. The next question you can think about while I'm going through the comments is, how do you exercise your curious brain? That's usually how we wrap up. So let's go back. Kim wrote, Tim, such a proud papa, and it's so important to give your kids a shout out and let them know how proud you are of them. Yes, and anyone that knows Tim knows he is extremely proud and talks so highly of his family and Sharon and his daughters and grandchildren who I've met. So we have more congratulations from Cynthia. We have, let's see, Ray says, need to take off. Great show, Gail. Tim, love your perspective and contribution to the industry. Congrats on your new role. Thank you, Ray. Ray is another person like you that brings so much history and background and knowledge into the industry, which is needed. We had Katie, thanks for letting me sit in again. I love hearing about manufacturing, the humans behind it. Yes, and that's something we need more of. We need more of the humanity and showing that in content, stories, video. We have John says, congrats, Tim. I'm headed into my weekly webinar. See you next time, Gail. Kim says, congratulations, Tim. Well-deserved and earned. Hey, I'm always open to connect with fans and manufacturers, lurkers or otherwise. Ray Zagano, me too. Okay, great. So before we wrap up, Tim, how do you exercise your curious brain?
Well, my brain has always been curious, and Brenda's right outside my door here making faces at me. So
tell her to come on.
Would you like to come on in and join the podcast? Oh, no. Okay. Gail, to get Brenda on, I'll give you a little bit, and I know we're taking up valuable time, but my daughter also does a hit on 1010 News Talk in Toronto, and wanted my wife to come on yesterday on her show to talk about a subject that I won't go around on. Anyway, my wife refused. She said, absolutely not. So she gets a call in the afternoon. Hang on, I'm going to put you on hold. You're about to go on the air. So complete surprise to her that she had one of the people in the control room call her up and immediately switch her onto the air, and she did her hit on the air and was very happy and proud of it. So maybe that's a secret to getting Brenda on your show.
Yes.
But to answer your question about curiosity, and I'm going. You told me to tell war stories. I'm going to give you a war story that they tease me about here. I've always been curious. That's what led me to learning how to dismantle Corvettes. It's what learned me how to scuba dive. But I started young. When I was a kid, I was the guy that read the dictionary. I would sit with a dictionary when I was a little kid and look for words I didn't know and read the definitions and understand what they were because people spoke. My mother was British and spoke very well and eloquently, and I wanted to understand big words. So that was my way of being curious. I read that. I read Winston Churchill's biography when I was too young to understand who Winston Churchill was because it sounded like an interesting thing to do. Being curious is what keeps us motivated. Being curious is what keeps us going. And if you're not asking why, if you're not asking how, then you're accepting the status quo and you're not moving forward. So curiosity is key to success in any industry and in any aspect of your life.
I love that. You probably hear my cat is deciding to join Curiosity. And by the way, Curiosity did not kill the cat. That's actually over time, because I had to go research that, because if I was going to talk about Curiosity and being a cat owner, and my cat has now come into my studio, she's just said hi. I thought, I can't be talking about something that's going to kill cats. So it actually didn't. It was actually worry kill a cat, and there's a whole history which I won't get into of why how that story got changed. And there's a little bit of politics to it. And Tim, one of the things I absolutely must say about you is you are curious. You are open to hearing ideas, even if people don't necessarily agree with you or you agree with them. You are still open to listening, and I congratulate on that. That is something I'm going to be talking a bit more about in the future, looking at how one of my favorite quotes. It's a Walt Whitman quote. And it was, be curious, not judgmental, became very popular on the show Ted Lasso. And I am going to post this. We won't get into this much today, but I think this is a good quote to leave people with. And you probably know which it is, if I can find it here, if I can find it on. It's a quote I first heard from you. And maybe in a future show, we'll talk about this, because this is, I'm just looking. This is why I need a show producer. We talked about the quantum theory. Okay, I cannot find it now, but it was, why don't you, do you know the quote I'm talking about? The Margaret Mead one?
The Margaret Mead one. Never doubt that a small group of dedicated individuals can change the course of the world, because it's the only thing that ever has.
Yes, there we are. Okay.
I paraphrase that a little bit. I'm not sure if
that's it's a good paraphrase, but it is. And this will probably be the topic of a future show I may be doing. And maybe that is what I'll also have Amanda on. Foreshadowing what will be to come, talking about, because I am fascinated by that quote, as well as be curious, not judgmental. And as you know, I do research. I spend a lot of time digging deep into issues, stories, and I really like to know. I like to be in the know. Sometimes it can be taxing on my brain, but I always think it's going to help with Alzheimer's one day, because I will always be digging deep. And I actually also spent time reading a dictionary growing up, because I was taking part in, I used to read a lot too. And I went through just about every book in the library and went on to spelling bees, and used to do really good at spelling bees as well, because they were fun and so challenging. Tim, thank you. This has been an amazing show. Amazing to have you come in. I'll just see if there's any more comments. We've got lots of people. We have Adam Baker saying, thanks for letting me lurk. We have Cynthia saying, I have done that too. I'm not sure. Cheers to asking why and how. Yes. We have another incredible session. Thank you all. Thank you, John. That's a good quote to leave this on as well. And Tim, I'm just going to have you go now. Did you say you have another meeting to go to, or do you have time to meet me in the green room, or do you have to go?
I've got people on hold here, actually.
Okay, I'm going to just let you go to the green room, and then you can just sign out. And I'm sure I'll be talking to you soon. And thank you today for stopping by and coming in on the show.
Thanks, everybody, for listening to my story as well. Okay,
thanks, Tim. Wow, that was a great show today. Tim is one of someone that I would actually also call a mentor to me. He's been so helpful in introducing me to mold making, to the world of manufacturing. And now that I understand his background a bit more, I knew some of it, but not all of it, about how he got into this world. So great for, and I'm just going to, let me just go back up here. All right. So if anyone needs further help, you need help telling your story, you want to talk about my sign up, suit up, show up, please get in touch. Please pass it on if you know of anybody needing help, especially in manufacturing. As Tim talked about, one of my specific goals is always about being able to tell the stories of manufacturers from a different perspective. So it's not just about a one-way conversation. It is about digging deep into, all of the fascinating aspects of manufacturing, having some more fun, using video, using engaging approaches. So it's not, again, the one-way conversation, but you're actually talking to people along the way. So that is what I find fascinating. And we're going to now start to sign off. Thanks everybody for all the comments. Thanks for showing up. Please connect with everyone in the comments, and I'll see you next week because we have another great guest next week. So stay tuned and make sure Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, TGIF on Wednesdays with GailNow. Thanks for that, Mike. Have a great day, everyone.